safety profile across diverse population. To promote the rational use of medication, we need pharmacovigilance and clinical and economic burdens of areas. To reduce the clinical and economic burdens of areas, we need pharmacovigilance. So common terms in pharmacovigilance: side effect versus adverse drug reaction versus adverse event. So what is side effect? It is a response to a drug which is unintended and which occurs at doses normally used in man for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy of disease. So side effect is an unintended effect of a medication or treatment. It refers to any effect, whether positive or negative, that is not the main intended purpose of the medication or treatment. For example, antihistamines induced drowsiness, aspirin induced heartburn. These are the side effects. So what is adverse event? Any untoward medical occurrence in a patient or clinical investigation subject administered a medicinal product and which does not necessarily have to have a causal relationship with the treatment. So before seeing this, we need to see what is causal relationship. So causal relationship refers to the connection between two events, where one event, that is cause, directly influences the occurrence of another event, that is effect. In simpler terms, cause makes the effect happen. Adverse event. An adverse event that can therefore be any unfavorable and unintended sign, like an abnormal laboratory finding, any symptoms, diseases temporarily associated with the use of medicinal product, but it doesn't have a causal relationship with the treatment. ADR, it is a response to a drug which is noxious and unintended, and ADR have a causal relationship between the treatment and the occurrence. So unintended and which occurs at doses normally used in man for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy of disease. So an ADR is an expression that describes harm associated with the use of given medicines at normal dosage. Serious ADR. A serious adverse reaction is defined as one which requires hospitalization or prolongation of existing hospitalization and causes congenital malformation. So in case if a pregnant patient takes any drug that causes congenital malformation, it leads to serious ADR, and it results in persistent or insignificant disability or incapacity, and it can be also life-threatening or results in death. So serious ADR can be life-threatening, hospitalization, maybe prolongation of hospitalization, can cause any disability, death, congenital anomaly, medically important event or reaction, and it may also cause cancer. If it doesn't causes any of these conditions and it is a non-serious ADR. Who are at greater risk of ADRs? Child less than 16 years. So infants and young children, as their organs and metabolic pathways are still developing, making them more susceptible to drug toxicity. And elderly who are greater than 65 years, they often have multiple medication and increasing the risk of interactions and side effects. Patients on life-saving care. These patients are more susceptible to ADRs due to pre-existing health condition, weakened immune system, and patient with multiple drug allergies. ADR assessment measures. The causality assessment system proposed by the World Health Organization, Collaborating Center for International Drug Monitoring, the Uppsala Monitoring Center, WHO-UMC, and the Naranjo Probability Scale are the generally accepted and most widely used methods for causality assessment. So causality assessment is mostly assessed using WHO-UMC scale and Naranjo Probability Scale in clinical practice, as they offer simple methodology which has gained popularity among clinicians because of its simplicity. So WHO-UMC causality system takes into account clinical pharmacological aspects. So it's basically a combined assessment taking into account the clinical pharmacological aspects of the case history and the quality of the documentation of the observation. So ADRs were classified into 6 categories based on WHO-UMC as certain, probable, possible, unlikely, conditional, unaccessible according to WHO-UMC criteria. Naranjo algorithm. Naranjo algorithm, it is a questionnaire which was developed by Naranjo et al. So it is an adverse drug reaction probability scale which is used to assess whether there is a causal relationship between an identified untoward clinical event and a drug using a simple questionnaire to assign probability scores. So based on the score we obtain, we can separate or we can so based on the score we obtain, we can classify the total scores. We can classify the ADR as definite, probable, possible, or doubtful. So based on the total score we obtain, if the score is greater than 9, it indicates a definite ADR. And if the score is between 5 to 8, it indicates probable ADR. And if it is 1 to 4, indicates possible ADR. And if it's 0, it indicates doubtful ADR. So classification of ADRs. ADRs are classified based on the onset, severity, and type. So based on onset, it is classified as acute, subacute, and latent. So acute ADRs. So if a person develops an ADR within a period of 60 minutes, when the drug is administered within the period of 60 minutes, it is called as acute. If the patient develop ADR between 1 to 24 hours after the drug has been administered, it is subacute. And in latent ADRs, the reaction develops after 2 days. Based on the severity, it is classified as minor, moderate, and severe. Minor ADR doesn't need any therapy, antidote, or prolongation of hospitalization. Moderate ADR requires change in drug therapy, specific treatment, or prolongs hospital stay by at least 1 day. Severe ADR potentially life-threatening, and it may cause permanent damage or requires intensive medical treatment. And there is also another type that is lethal. It directly or indirectly contributes to death of the patient. So type A, B, C, and D. Type A, augmented reactions. These are the reactions which can be predicted from the known pharmacology of the drug. So it is dose dependent. Can be alleviated by dose reduction. So the reaction can be alleviated by dose reduction. For example, anticoagulants induced bleeding and beta blockers induced bradycardia. Type B, Bizarre reaction. It cannot be predicted from the pharmacology of the drug, and it is not dose dependent. For example, penicillin-induced anaphylaxis. And type C is chemical reaction. Biological characteristics can be predicted from the chemical structure of the drug. For example, paracetamol induced hepatotoxicity, and steroid-induced osteoporosis. Type D, delayed reactions. It occurs after many years after treatment. That is for example, bladder carcinoma after treatment with cyclophosphamide. So adverse drug reaction versus adverse event versus medication errors. So all adverse drug reactions are adverse events, but not all adverse events are adverse drug reactions. Medication errors are more common than adverse events, but the result is less than 1% of the time. About 25% of the ADEs, adverse drug events, are due to medication errors. And adverse drug events and adverse drug reactions occurring due to medication errors are often preventable. So the history of PVPI. So initially, thalidomide was widely used in the late 1950s and 1960s. Thalidomide was widely used for the treatment of nausea in pregnant women. So it became apparent in the 1960s that thalidomide treatment resulted in severe birth defects in thousands of children. So in November 1961, thalidomide was taken off the market. Experts estimated that thalidomide led to the death of approximately 2,000 children and serious birth defects in more than 10,000 children. So because of this, the WHO started International Drug Monitoring Program in response to the thalidomide disaster. So Global WHO Uppsala ADR Monitoring Center, which was set up in 1978, a World Health Organization Collaborating Center for International Drug Monitoring. It collects, assesses, and communicates information in regard to the benefits, harm, effectiveness, and risks of drug. So history of PVPI. In 1986, pharmacovigilance activities were initiated with the proposal of a formal ADR monitoring system with 12 regional centers. In 1989, 6 regional centers were set up in Mumbai, New Delhi, Kolkata, Lucknow, Puducherry, and Chandigarh. Under the supervision of Drug Controller of India, and in 1997, India joined WHO's ADR monitoring program, but was not successful. In 2004, a National Pharmacovigilance program launched for India with sponsorship from WHO and funding from World Bank. National Pharmacovigilance Program, renamed as Pharmacovigilance Program of India, that is PVPI, in 14th July 2010, with AIIMS New Delhi as the National Coordination Center. And in 2011, National Coordination Center shifted from AIIMS to Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, that is in Ghaziabad, on 15th April 2011. So culture of reporting of ADRs has achieved remarkable success with 272 PVPI, that is Pharmacovigilance Program of India, established ADR monitoring center all over India. So the mission and vision of PVPI. The mission is to protect the health of Indian population by making sure that the advantages of using medications exceeds the risks. To safeguard the health of Indian population by ensuring that the benefits of use of medicines outweigh the risk associated with its use. So vision is to improve patient safety and welfare in the Indian population by monitoring the drug safety and reduce risk associated with the use of medicines. That is to monitor the drug safety and lower the risk connected with medicine in order to improve patient safety. Objectives: to create a nationwide system for patient safety reporting, to identify and analyze new signal ADR from the reported cases, to generate evidence-based information on safety of medications, to emerge as National Center of Excellence for Pharmacovigilance activities. So based on the ADR reported, evidence-based information on safety of medicines will be generated. So next, how to report an ADR. So goals, to develop and implement pharmacovigilance system in India, to encourage healthcare professional in reporting of adverse drug reactions, adverse reactions caused due to drugs and vaccines, collection of case reports and data. So how to report ADRs and what to report? All adverse events suspected to be caused by new drugs and drugs of current interest. So all known, expected and unexpected ADR with all new or old drugs has to be reported. All ADRs, either serious or non-serious, that should also be reported. Frequent or rare ADRs also need to be reported. Drugs, vaccines, medical devices, contrast media, if it causes any reaction, it also needs to be reported. Any abnormal laboratory investigation, which is known or unknown, following a drug use, needs to be reported. So all suspected drug interactions, any drug or adverse event leading to death, disability or hospitalization needs to be reported. So how to report ADRs? Who can report? Any health professional can report an ADR. So doctor, dentist, nurse, pharmacist can report an ADR. Where to report? Duly filled suspected adverse drug reaction reporting form can be sent to the nearest adverse drug reaction monitoring center or directly to the National Coordination Center. So by filling the suspected adverse drug reaction reporting form, regarding the incidences that are happened, we can send the filled form to the nearest adverse drug reaction monitoring center or directly to the National Coordination Center. So call on helpline. This is the toll-free number to report ADRs on weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So email this filled form to pvpi@ipcindia.net or pvpi.ipcindia@gmail.com. The mobile Android application for ADR reporting has also been made available to the public. So this is the suspected adverse drug reaction reporting form. and it contains patient information like we have to fill the patient initials, age, date of birth, gender, weight, and suspected adverse reaction has to be mentioned in the form, like event or reaction start date, like report must be a reporter must report the date on which the reaction was first observed, and event stop date. We have to describe the event. For example, if a patient developed erythematous rash over upper and lower limb, the following reaction has to be mentioned in that column. And suspected medications. We have a column like suspected medications where the name of the medication, suspected medication, has to be filled. Causality assessment based on WHO UMC scale uh, or Naranjo scales can be made. And action taken. Action taken, which is the concomitant drug that was administered, and the seriousness of the reaction has also should also be filled, and reporter details should also be filled in this form. So, how to report ADRs? What happens to the submitted information? Information provided in this form is handled in strict confidence. So, the causality assessment is carried out at adverse drug monitoring centers by using WHO UMC scale. The analyzed forms are forwarded to the NCC through ADR database. Finally, the data is analyzed and forwarded to the Global Pharmacovigilance database managed by WHO Uppsala Monitoring Center in Sweden. The reports are periodically reviewed by the NCC PVPI. The information is submitted to the steering committee of PVPI constituted by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The committee is entrusted with the responsibility to review the data and suggest any interventions that may be required. So, how to report ADRs? As we have seen, healthcare professionals will report an ADR to a nearby ADR monitoring center. The ADR monitoring center will send the ADR database to National Coordination Center IPC Ghaziabad, which is then transferred to UAMC Sweden. So, methods of pharmacovigilance. Passive surveillance. Passive surveillance includes spontaneous reporting, case series, and case report. In India, suspected adverse drug reaction form is used for spontaneous reporting. It is also called as voluntary or mandatory reporting. So case series involves reports on two or more people with common exposure to a drug or a common outcome. So series of case reports provides evidence on association between a drug and an adverse event. So case report, it describes description of the history of the single patient who has been exposed to a medication and experiences a particular and unexpected effect. For example, adverse event phocomelia associated with the use of antibiotics. So active surveillance. Active surveillance seeks to ascertain completely the number of adverse events via a continuous pre-organized process. For example, follow-up of the patients treated with a particular drug through a risk management program. So active surveillance, then comparative observational studies includes cohort, case control, and cross-sectional studies. Stimulated reporting. It is a method used to encourage and facilitate reporting by healthcare professionals for new products. So the limitations of simulated reportings are the data are often incomplete. Then descriptive studies. It is primarily used to obtain the background rate of the outcome events and to establish the prevalence of the use of drugs in specified populations. So tools of pharmacovigilance. Vigiflow. It is a web-based individual case safety reporting management system. It is designed for use by national centers in the WHO program for international drug monitoring. So it is a complete easy management system of individual case safety reporting. So in Vigiflow, initially data are captured from online reporting, mobile apps, electronic health records, and it is structured. That is what you do when you enter info into the fields of the Vigiflow. Structured is a process which you do in by filling the forms of the Vigiflow, and distributing workload, maintaining your national individual case safety reporting database, and it is shared with other stakeholders like VG-based, WHO Global, ICSR database. So current status of PVPI. Till date, PVPI has accomplished the following. It has set up more than 200 ADR monitoring centers across India, engaging with the pharmaceutical industries to ensure smooth ADR reporting. It also launched an Android mobile app for ADR reporting, and it provides drug alerts and recommendations to the industries, healthcare professionals, and CDSCO. Optimize drug safety through research-based pharmacovigilance, and it provides continuous training and skill development programs. Future prospects and development. So, pharmacovigilance of vaccines. So, it is a science and activities relating to detection, assessment, understanding, prevention, and communication of adverse events following immunization. For example, real incidents like TB following oral BCG vaccine. So, oral BCG, and emovigilance and biovigilance. Emovigilance, it is a set of surveillance procedure covering the whole transfusion chain, from the collection of blood and its components to the follow-up of its recipients, intended to collect and assesses info on unexpected or undesirable effects resulting from the therapeutic use of labile blood products. And biovigilance, it is a set of surveillance procedure covering the entire transplantation chain, that is from the donation to the follow-up of the recipients. And it is intended to collect, assess information on unexpected or undesirable effects resulting from therapeutic use of blood products, organs, tissues, and cellular therapies. Material vigilance program. So material vigilance program have been established to create awareness about medical device adverse events, and medical device adverse event monitoring centers has also been established. So medication error, it is a simple mistake but can be lethal. So medication safety is everyone's responsibilities. So please do no harm. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. How many AD are reported per year in India?
Per
In
year.
average. Yes, in average.
In average. I have no idea regarding this. I guess it's between 50,000 to 1 lakh. Because I'm not an expert in pharmacovigilance.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So in case of serious adverse effect, what step they are going to take for that particular time?
In case of serious adverse reactions, initially the patient have to be treated for the reaction and the drug has to be withdrawn.
Can you suggest further reading for the regarding
Sorry,
this
sir.
pharmacovigilance? Can you suggest further references for reading of this regarding that pharmacovigilance?
Uh,
Can
can
you
I say
suggest?
after discussing with the experts in pharmacovigilance, because I'm a clinical pharmacist, I'm not an expert in pharmacovigilance, I'll definitely revert you back with the reference, sir. Sure. I'll share my mail ID with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat box. I'll send you the reference, or you can share your mail ID. I'll send you the reference for sure. I've shared my mail ID. You just send me a message, sir. I'll revert you back with the reference. Any other questions?
Anyone, if you are having any doubts, please ask.